Today's episode is sponsored by Midwest Fire. For more than 20 years, Midwest Fire has been manufacturing high-quality tankers, tanker pumpers, and fire rescue vehicles in the United States and Canada. Keeping firefighters safe while enhancing their capabilities is what they do best. To learn more, go to MidwestFire.com.
Hi, this is Firefighter Chris Crawford from the Beaver Falls Fire Department. You are listening to the SA Matters radio show with Dr. Rich Gasaway. The SA Matters mission is simple. They're trying to help us see the bad things coming in time to avoid bad outcomes.
Hello, and welcome to episode 111 of the Situational Awareness Matters radio show. I'm your host, Rich Gasaway. The purpose of this show is to improve situational awareness and decision-making for individuals and teams who work in high-risk, high-consequence environments. The SA Matters mission is simple: to help you see the bad things coming in time to avoid bad outcomes. I'm coming to you today from beautiful, sunny, and very hot Tucson, Arizona, where I'm in town to deliver 4 programs for the PEMA Interagency Training Group. The cool thing about this visit is 3 of the programs are being done pro bono. That means free, as a fundraiser for the National Fallen Firefighters Foundation Arizona chapter. The program I delivered yesterday, the proceeds from the book, the banquet last night, which I delivered the keynote address for, and the silent auction and the golf outing today raised $57,000 for the National Fallen Firefighters Foundation. I'm deeply honored to have played a part in this successful event. I am staying over to do an encore program on Monday for fire departments in the Tucson region. Thank you to Todd Canale and Gary West for your faith and confidence in my message to include me in your program. I am deeply honored and deeply committed to the mission of the National Fallen Firefighters Foundation. Hey, have you scheduled your Situational Awareness Matters tour stop for your department or your region yet? No, you haven't? Seriously? What are you waiting on? Did you know that issues related to situational awareness or the barriers that flaw situational awareness are implicated in nearly every significant firefighter casualty report? It's a really, really big deal. The problem is, most firefighters know so little about situational awareness. They think so long as they're paying attention or they keep their head on a swivel, they have good situational awareness. As anyone who's attended any of my programs can tell you, that's simply not the case. Sure, paying attention is an important part of situational awareness, but it's not all of it. There is so much more. Those who think it's just paying attention are simply uninformed. Don't be uninformed on a topic this important. There's too much at stake, as situational awareness serves as the foundation for good decision-making. And it's the decision-making that drives the actions that lead to successful outcomes or catastrophic outcomes. If you're interested in attending an upcoming Situational Awareness Matters tour stop, head over to the SA Matters website and click on the blue box on the right side of the homepage that says Upcoming Events Schedule. There are more than 500 agencies on 4 continents that have hosted Situational Awareness Matters tour stop events. Over 52,000 firefighters have attended one of these programs. Has your agency? No? It's time. If you're interested in hosting a Situational Awareness Matters tour stop in 2016 for your department or your association or your region, just contact me through the samatters.com website. Just click on the Contact Us tab. We'll get something set up for you. My 2016 schedule is filling up fast, and I'm only going to book 6 more programs in 2016. So if you want one of those 6 programs, head over to the website and contact me. I'm also actively booking my 2017 programs, and I'm also going to cap the number of programs for 2017 as well, because I want to spend more time with my family. Anybody who's been connected with me on the podcast here for any length of time knows that I'm doing between 120 and 150 programs a year. and I just need to cut back some. So if you want a program for 2017, now's the time to secure your date. Here's a tip for how to host a program at a reduced cost. I schedule many what I call companion programs. These are programs on adjoining days to other programs. So if you see that I'm delivering a program within a couple hours of your department and you think you might want to tag along as a companion, just contact me. You can save as much as 20% off the program cost for being a companion to an existing program. In today's feature segment, I'm going to share with you 19 ways that communications can impact situational awareness. I wrote about this on my blog a while back, and I received a lot of favorable comments, so I thought I would just share the message here. A quick note, if you missed episodes 103 and 104, go back and give them a lesson. Listen. I interviewed Captain Eric Dryman from the Indianapolis Fire Department, and he shares an amazing close call story where he survived a flashover. It's pretty incredible. If you haven't heard it yet, circle back and give it a listen. For that matter, go back and listen to all the close call survival stories. You can learn a lot from someone who's almost died, and now they have a story to share with you. I give them the platform. All you have to do is give them the investment of your time to listen. I promise you'll learn something from every one of them. I'm going to jump into the feature segment now, but when it's done, I'm going to circle back and announce the upcoming tour stop events where you may be able to attend one of the programs. Okay, let's jump into the feature segment. 19 ways communications issues can impact situational awareness.
If you're a student of near-miss and casualty reports, then you know without a doubt that flawed communications is a major contributing factor when things go wrong, and flawed communications is often a factor when situational awareness is lost. In fact, flawed communications was the second most frequently cited barrier to flawed situational awareness in my research, second to only to staffing issues. But how does communications get messed up at emergency scenes? Let's explore some of the barriers to effective communications. Defining a situational awareness barrier. For the purposes of my research, a barrier to situational awareness was anything that prevented the development of situational awareness, caused the loss of situational awareness, or prevented the recovery of situational awareness once it was degraded. As you can imagine, that can be a pretty long list. In fact, it is a long list. My research uncovered 116 barriers, and I'm confident there are even more yet to be uncovered and researched. One of the categories of barriers to situational awareness is flawed communications. Here are 19 ways communications can get flawed. Biases. A bias is defined as displaying a prejudice for or against something or someone. Biases, as a category unto itself, are a significant barrier to situational awareness and extend far beyond communications challenges. In the context of communications, a receiver of a message can show a bias for or against the messenger, and this gives greater or lesser deference to the message itself. Perceptions. Perception is defined as the ability to see, hear, or become aware of something through the senses. However, perceptions are not always accurate. When information is shared in the form of communications between two or more people, the perception of the meaning may not be accurate. Is perception reality? This is a question we discussed often during the 50 Ways to Kill a First Responder program. Many think perception is not reality, but it is, at least in the mind of the person with the perception. And they'll have no way of knowing their perception isn't reality until reality rears its ugly head. When a responder communicates his or her observations, they should say, "I think this is what might be going on, but I'm not really sure I'm seeing this right." Of course, responders don't say this. If they did, no one would trust anything they say. So they say things with confidence, and people believe them. Attribution. Attribution is defined as the explanation people infer for the things they see or hear. Attribution can impact communications when the message of the sender is not the meaning attributed by the receiver. The problem is neither may know that they have miscommunicated until the consequence brings it to light. Relationships. Humans can give deference in favor of messages communicated by individuals the receiver has a good working relationship with. Equally, messages communicated by individuals the receiver does not have a good working relationship with can be dismissed or discounted. Why? In a word, trust. We listen to and believe those we trust more than those we don't. Hierarchy. The formal, structured flow of communications can impact the quality of the message. The more layers of organizational hierarchy a message must travel, the greater the potential for flaws in communications. Think about the third grade game of telephone. The more people the message has to flow through, the greater the likelihood the message is going to be distorted. Physical distance. The greater the distance between the sender and the receiver, the greater the potential for miscommunications. This is especially true when the communications is over a telephone or a radio, because the voice inflection can be misinterpreted and the sender and receiver do not have the same benefit of interpreting the non-verbal communications. Cultural differences. As much as we are all in the fire service together, we are all equally unique. These differences can cause miscommunications because terms and phrases that are commonly understood in one culture may be completely foreign in another. And in the context of this discussion, culture does not refer to ethnicity, although this can be a challenge as well. I'm referring to the varying cultures within an existing department and from department to department within the same geographic region. Expected messages. When a message is an expected message, the receiver can tune out the message and the messenger. Parents witness this all the time when having conversations with their children about doing homework or cleaning up their bedrooms or... I'm tuning out now. When a responder feels they understand enough about what is going on an emergency scene, they may tune out the incoming communications. Unexpected messages. When the message is so unexpected that it stuns the receiver, additional messages may not be heard or processed. This occurs because verbal messages are processed first in the auditory processor of the brain and then sent to the visual processor of the brain to have a sketch made of the image drawn into the mind's eye. If the message is so unexpected that it stuns the receiver, the brain can get bogged down trying to make sense out of what it just heard. This can prevent new messages from being processed. Conflicting messages. When a receiver hears two messages that are in conflict with each other, the decision must be made which message to believe. Alternatively, the receiver can go on a search mission for more information that resolves the conflict. Unfortunately, in a high-stress, time-compressed environment of emergency scenes, the receiver may simply jump to a conclusion about which piece of information is accurate. This guess, and a guess it is, may be right or it may be wrong. The lesson is usually apparent based on the outcome. Sometimes the guess can be wrong and luck prevails, and the outcome is still okay. Source value. Like it or not, we can find ourselves believing or not believing a message based solely on how well we know the sender of the message and how much we value their knowledge. We subconsciously evaluate the trustworthiness of the messenger. Does this person have enough credibility to be trusted? How well do I know this person? Do I like this person? Do I respect this person? We judge the messenger and thus the believability of the message. Misinterpretations. It is probably one of the most commonly discussed communications barriers because it's among the easiest to understand. Our language is complex and difficult to understand in its best of conditions. Simile, metaphor, hyperbole, and on and on. The complexity of the spoken word leads to miscommunications. Nonverbal clues. In addition to the spoken word, nonverbal clues and cues send powerful messages. When we are not in physical proximity to see the sender or the receiver, we're missing an important component of communications. In addition to the spoken word, receivers evaluate the inflection in the voice of the sender, which can also significantly alter the intended message. Are you going to paint that car red? Those simple 8 words can have many meanings depending on the inflection. Listen to what happens when we inflect or emphasize one word in this sentence. Are you going to paint that car red? 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 Emotions. When you hear a message, it is darn near impossible not to feel some emotion about the message or the messenger. The emotions in turn trigger recalls of past experiences that bleed into current knowledge. Certain components of the message may contain more emotional triggers than other parts of the message. When something triggers an emotional recall of a past experience, you may, in turn, if only momentarily, zone out from the current moment as you're flooded with recall from past experiences. This may cause you to miss some component of the current message. Inference. We have lots of practice making inferences to messages we receive. In fact, we infer meaning on just about every message we receive. The more we know about the sender of the message, and the better we understand the situation that the sender is in, the more accurate our inference may be. To ensure the accuracy of an inference would require a series of questions and responses between the sender and receiver to ensure the message is completely and accurately understood. Rarely are neither the time nor patience in enough supply during an emergency to accommodate this. The volume of information. The mere volume of information being shared can cause the receiver to suffer from information overload. When this happens, the receiver will start filtering out information. Unfortunately, the brain is not very good about sorting information on the fly and distinguishing the most important information from the less important information. Rather, the brain is more likely to remember the first pieces of information, the last pieces of information, and information that triggers emotional responses. Unfortunately, none of this may be the important information. Multiple incoming cues. The act of listening requires conscious awareness and a need to pay attention to the message. We cannot multitask the act of listening. What we do instead of multitasking is we interleave. Interleaving is single tasking in multiple succession. In other words, we listen to one thing, then the other, then back to the first, assuming there are only two communications inputs to listen to at a time. This requires a lot of heavy lifting by the brain, especially in a dynamically changing environment where there are lots of complex things to see and hear. Equipment issues. There are numerous challenges we can face at an emergency scene when it comes to our communications equipment. Broken radios, incompatible equipment, operating on different frequencies, being on the wrong channel or talk group, not being able to reach a repeater, lapel mics that are not working, muffled modulation through a facepiece, feedback from multiple radio channels in close proximity to each other, and many, many more. Our technology isn't perfect, and the flaws impact the effectiveness of communications. Stress. It's no mistake I saved this one for last. Stress is the game changer when it comes to our performance. In some ways, stress improves performance. In other ways, stress devastates performance. Such is the case for communications. Stress can cause our senses to go on high alert for danger, increasing your audible acuity. This means you may be able to hear things that you would not normally hear if you weren't under stress. This increase in audible acuity may be enough to help you hear a scream of a child trapped in a burning home. On the downside, stress can lead to auditory exclusion. This means that stress can cause you to go deaf. You may simply not hear things, even when those messages are coming through a radio that may be clipped on your lapel just a few inches from your ear.
Okay, as I always do, I want to take a moment to thank the departments and organizations that have hosted some of the recent Situational Awareness Matters Tour Stop events. I do this to show appreciation to those organizations who put forth the effort to organize, advertise, and fund great training experiences for their members and for their region. Your efforts to bring this valuable and powerful training on situational awareness and high-risk, high-consequence decision-making to your members and others in your region are greatly appreciated. The Alabama Fire College, who hosted programs in Gulf Shores, Alabama, Trussville, Alabama, and Decatur, Alabama. The new Hanover County Department of Fire and Rescue Services in North Carolina. The Alberta Fire Chiefs Association Conference held in Calgary, Alberta, and where I am now for the PEMA Interagency Training Committee and the National Fallen Firefighters Foundation Arizona chapter. If you're interested in joining me for an upcoming Situational Awareness Matters Tour Stop event, then you can catch me on June 9th at the Spokane, Washington Fire Department, June 10th at the Montana Fire Alliance Conference, June 16th, the Brighton Area Fire Department in Michigan. June 17th, the Eastern Michigan University School of Police and Fire Staff and Command Executive Development Program. June 22nd, at the Texas Interagency Mutual Aid Association. June 24 and 25, the Fair Fire Department in Texas. And then I'm going to take a few days off to enjoy some time with my family. Then on July 6th, I'll be at the Iowa Fire Service Training Bureau in Ames, Iowa. July 7th, the Overland Park Fire Department in Overland Park, Kansas. And July 8th, the Shawnee Fire Department in Shawnee, Oklahoma. Then I'm going to take some time off to do my annual Boundary Waters Wilderness Canoe Trip. I've taken this trip to the Boundary Waters every year since 2005. It's the highlight of my summer. Also coming up this summer, I'm going to chaperone a group of Boy Scouts on a high adventure trip where we're going to go sailing off the tip of Florida for 14 days. 2 weeks on a boat with my 16-year-old son and no smartphones. Stay tuned to hear how that works out. Thanks so much to all of our program hosts, and here's hoping there'll be a tour stop near you and we'll get a chance to meet up. While delivering programs in southwest Minnesota earlier this year, I had the opportunity to stop by and visit some awesome, amazing, totally rad people at my sponsor, Midwest Fire. They make incredible all-poly fire apparatus that is changing the industry. You seriously need to check out MidwestFire.com. Anyhow, I got a chance to sit down and talk with a few of their employees about what separates Midwest Fire from their competitors. Let's listen in and learn what happens after the sale and the process for building a fire engine. All right, I've heard about the No Dealer Network. I've heard about how to get in contact with Midwest Fire. I've heard about the process of speccing a truck, and that's all good. What happens after the sale?
Currently, after the sale, everything gets turned over to myself as project manager. I will then lead you through the build process. If you call in, have questions on your truck, want to make changes to your truck, want updates on your truck, that will all filter through me then rather than the salesman at that time. We take pride in everything we do here. You've heard that many times. But what we want to focus on is making this the best experience we can for the fire department. It's not always easy to get a hold of your salesman, whether he's traveling or on the road or at shows where I'm in-house full-time. Have 100% control with the project manager as well as manufacturing manager of your truck going through the process.
So somebody calls you and they have a question or they're saying, can we make this change or whatever. You literally just walk down the hall, out the door, and you're on the manufacturing floor talking with engineering or with the people who are actually building their truck, and you can do kind of real-time problem solving or adjusting on the specification?
Yep. What we do then, if there is changes to the truck, obviously there'd be a change order involved, but the response time is a lot quicker. Most of the departments we work with have a meeting once a month, the volunteer fire departments. So if they call in, have a meeting the next night, we're able to get an answer to them, a response to them right away, so we're not holding up the project while it's in production.
Super. Well, there you have, folks. That's what differentiates Midwest Fire from their competitors. So check them out at MidwestFire.com.
Thank you, Sarah Atchison, President of Midwest Fire, and all of your staff for your awesome commitment to improving first responder safety. I sincerely appreciate your support of my mission. Hey, if you're interested in attending an upcoming Situational Awareness Matters tour stop, head over to the SA Matters website and click on the blue box on the right side of the homepage that says Upcoming Events Schedule. I've booked 4 new programs just in the last 2 weeks, thanks to Howard County Volunteer Fire Department in South Dakota and Firehouse Expo. I'm coming to Nashville in October for that program. The International Association of Fire Chiefs Volunteer and Combination Officers section in November, and the Texas Fire Educators Conference in 2017. Hey, in case you missed it, the National Transportation Safety Board held hearings recently on the Philadelphia train accident that killed 8 people, and the findings included that the engineer suffered from a loss of situational awareness. Now, I'm not a big fan of the term lost situational awareness because everyone has some level of situational awareness at all times. It may not be accurate to say that a situational awareness is lost. I hope the NTSB digs deeper to uncover the root cause factors and identify the barriers that caused the situational awareness issues. And most importantly, I hope they take some action steps to fix those problems. I also want to let you know that I was interviewed recently by Wired magazine about distracted driving and situational awareness. The article appeared in the May issue of the magazine, which I thought was really cool. I'm also going to be joining a group of researchers on a project to look at situational awareness for telecommunications professionals, sometimes called dispatchers in some arenas. From the preliminary conference call, I think we're going to be focusing on the pre-arrival instructions, or EMD, portion of their jobs. This will be a very cool project and one that I think will have huge advantages to field responders. I want to share with you a couple pieces of feedback I received. I don't share the feedback to brag, but rather to show appreciation to those who are inspired by my message and take the time to send me some encouragement. I really, really appreciate the encouragement. If you want to send me feedback, I would love to hear from you. Just visit the samatters.com website and click on the Contact Us link. It's that simple. The email comes directly to me. Okay, this first piece of feedback comes from Phil Rowe. It says, Hello, Rich. It's always a pleasure to listen to your presentations. You're a great speaker with a great knowledge base and information that is highly needed on the fire ground. As I told you in Calgary, ever since hearing you in Victoria, I have been following you and using Situational Awareness Matters material anytime I can in our training. I was very impressed with the critical thinking firefighter keynote that you did. Excellent presentation. I'm going to meet with my training staff and incorporate this immediately into our programs. If I can find some budget money, I'm certainly going to try to pick up your DVD set too. Looking very interesting and useful information. I will continue to follow you on Facebook and look forward to listening to you again. Take care, sir. Safe travels wherever your presentations may take you. Well, thank you, Phil, for that piece of feedback. The next piece of feedback comes from Martin, and I'm withholding his last name because of the nature of the feedback. Mr. Gasaway, I was impressed and pleased to attend your program. For many years, I was looking to find the science behind awareness and teaching techniques, and I finally found them through you, the answers that I was looking for. I served 10 years as a medic in the military and was wrongly judged by my supervisors as a bad leader and teacher. I refused to teach and to act in a military style. I was leading my troops in a way to make them think and learn to be accountable. I showed empathy and acceptance to people's strengths and weaknesses, but the military structure was not an appropriate method, so I decided to take an early retirement. Hearing and seeing you made me believe that I was right and that I should have continued to trust my gut. I guess my biggest issue is to learn how to make people listen and understand to my way of thinking. I can learn from you, sir, and I want to learn more about how to influence people. I bought your book and we'll start reading it soon. Thank you for signing it. And signed, Martin. Well, thanks, Martin, for attending the program and for that awesome feedback. I got to tell you, Martin, it really, really inspires me to hear from people like you that provide that kind of feedback to me. So thank you for that, buddy. This final piece of feedback comes from James Clark. Rich, thank you so much for the information that you provided during your presentation. I truly enjoyed both presentations. Keep up the great work. In my opinion, you are making a huge difference. I wish I would have had your insight to training years ago when I did a lot of training. I would have done things a lot differently. Going forward, your insights will definitely be applied. Thank you, James, for that piece of feedback. Again, I really, really appreciate it. I cannot begin to tell you how much that inspires me. So thank you, James, for taking the time to write to me. Okay, if you know somebody that you'd like to have as a guest on the show, contact me through the SA Matters website Contact Us link, and I'll get an interview arranged with them. If you've experienced or witnessed a near miss and would like to have a platform to share your lessons learned with others, don't be shy, don't be embarrassed. Contact me by visiting the SA Matters website, and we'll get something set up where you can have a platform to share your lessons learned. Think about it. The lessons learned from your near-miss event could save the life of another first responder. That's really, really powerful. Please step up. Share your lessons. Maybe you'll save someone's life. If you haven't subscribed to the SA Matters radio podcast yet, take a moment to go over to iTunes or Stitcher Radio and subscribe. And while you're there, please consider leaving some feedback for the show. And if you like the show, give it a 5-star review. It's really important because it inspires me to work harder for you. A lot of time and effort goes into producing, recording, and editing a show and lining up the guests. Your feedback lets me know that you appreciate the show. In case you didn't know, I've written 3 books on situational awareness. These books contain critical lessons for improving your situational awareness and your high-risk decision-making. If you want copies of the books, you can go to the SA Matters website to the store link or to Amazon.com. If you're not a member of the SA Matters community of learners, please consider joining. When you join as a member, I'll give you a free report that I've created for the members called 25 Best Practices for Improving First Responders Safety. The membership is free too. More than 5,000 people have signed up to be members of the SA Matters community. If you're not a member yet, head over to the SA Matters website, click on the red box on the right side of the homepage. It says free membership. If you want to get connected on social media, you can follow @Rich Gasaway or @SA Matters on Twitter. The Twitter community between those 2 feeds is about 17,000 followers, and thank you for supporting my mission there. You can also get connected on Facebook by joining the private Facebook page, facebook.com/groups/SA Matters. There's a 50% coupon off of my latest book, SA Matters Volume 3 there. That'll save you $20. So join the Facebook group. On LinkedIn, you can find me by searching Rich Gasaway on LinkedIn. On YouTube, you can watch the videos I put up on SA Matters TV. SA Matters TV is the YouTube channel. Well, that's it. Episode 111 is complete. Thank you to our podcast sponsor, Midwest Fire. Thank you to all of our live event hosts. And thank you, our listeners, for sharing some of your valuable time with me today. I really appreciate your support of the SA Matters mission. Be safe out there, and may the peace of the Lord and strong situational awareness be with you always.
You've been listening to the Situational Awareness Matters radio show with Dr. Richard B. Gasaway. If you are interested in learning more about situational awareness, human factors, and decision-making under stress, visit samatters.com. If you are interested in booking Dr. Gasaway for an upcoming event, visit his personal website at richgasaway.com.